welcome back. So today I'm gonna paint one layout in the new mini Dina Wakley journal because I want to compare the papers. I've had a couple comments a couple times now on my Facebook group how they think that the paper in this little one must be different than the paper in the big one, and so I thought when they were making them, they made them the same, but you know, this is a reprint after the fact, and maybe this was the paper they could get. So I thought I would just look at it and see, is this paper different? I'm sure the canvas and the burlap are probably the same. So I'm going to expect those to act the same, but is the watercolor paper the same or different? So this is the big one I've been painting in this whole time, and it's weird paper, I'll give you that. It's not regular watercolor paper. It does not act like regular watercolor paper, and it's been okay though. Like when I painted on it, it doesn't soak through to the back. It's got a slight texture to it, and after looking at these two papers, they're definitely different. So this one actually it's a cotton paper, just like this one here, but this one has more of almost, if you get real close, a linen-y texture look to it, whereas this feels more like a pressed cotton and has like a cold pressed texture to it. So it does seem to be slightly different, because when people were putting that, I thought surely not, but now that I have looked at these and compared them, it does seem to be slightly different. And you can see, like on this, when I've painted on this side with the watercolors and then topped off with acrylics, we don't have any paint showing through to the back side. So I thought what I would do today is paint a layout in the smaller one and just see how is it reacting compared to the big one, since I have been working in this big one for so long. And I think I'm gonna do what I always do and not start on the first page. And I might do a stencil on this side and a painting on this side. I'm gonna get us a piece of this paper, but now that I'm looking closely at it, like I'm actually getting in and taking a look at that paper, it is different. So it's gonna be interesting to see, like, I would say that this is not meant for a ton of water the way it feels. So I don't know, as if you're like a watercolor artist, if you would like to go light-handed with the watercolor, but I definitely wouldn't wet the page down to begin with, like you might on a wet technique. I'm just trying to protect the other pages around it. But I thought, let's just give this one a test out today and see. And then, you know, do you need to gesso it every time you paint on it? Maybe these need to be gessoed. I guess we'll give it a little test and see. I'm going to use the Kissoh paints on this because I'm newly obsessed with them after having these for more than a year and being so obsessed with the Kuretakis. Now I'm obsessed with the Kissohs because they're so lovely. The ones I've painted with this, the colors are different. They're a little more transparent than the Kuretaki ones. And this shimmery one that I have put in a couple of pieces has been amazing. So we're going to pull the shimmer. This is the color card I'm going to be inspired by today. It's around Valentine's Day when I'm painting this. I know it's not going to post around Valentine's Day for you, but I thought, ooh, kind of pretty with the pink. And I'm going to pull that. This is out of Color Cube Volume 1. I'm trying to switch it up a little for you. By Sarah Renee Clark, and this is card 33. And let's just pull some of these colors in this kind of pink. We've got a brown, so this looks like it could be a brown. Let me grab a watercolor brush and maybe a little sample card, and we'll see if that's a brown. Here's my little tester card, and yes, that's a brown, so we'll do that. And then we've got red, so let's see, what red do we want? Here's like a red. Let's see, do we want this red? Ooh, that's like an orange red. Is there a better red? Let's see. Oh yeah, that's a good red. Okay, I like that one. that one there. And then we got pink. So this pink kind of looks like that last pink over there. It's a neon though, so the problem with the neons is they will fade over time, but if you know that up front, then it is what it is. And then we've got that pretty light pink, so I might pull out a Kuretake, because the Kuretake ones do have some pinks. And I feel like this pink right here could be the right pink. So we're going to go for Cherry Blossom in the Kuretake. And then I'll tell you what these other colors are here. And then we've got 22, 37. The Kissohs don't tell you the names on them. 63 and 75, unless you speak Japanese. They're written on there in Japanese. And I don't know if you shop at Choosing Keeping online or in London, but they have their own line of the Gansai Tambi paints. And somebody who read Japanese told us all that those are Kissohs, the Kissoh company ones, because he read what was written on the back of some of those pants, and I thought, oh, so interesting to know this. Thank you very much. Alright, there we go. Alright, what are we going to get out of this today? I guess I need to set these to the side. Let me wet them down. So I'm going to start with the watercolor. We're going to give it a good test out because, to be honest, because I had never even really pulled this out. When people were asking, I thought, well, surely they put the same paper in these, but now that I've looked close at it, I don't think they have. So let's paint in this in the way that I paint in these and see. Let's just compare with the big book, because I thought, why would they make the little book as a reprint and pick a different paper? But you never know what was available, so I can't really judge like what options that they had. But I do find that kind of weird that they're slightly different. I'm just kind of randomly picking colors here. And it is a textury paper. It's almost like a rough watercolor paper, not even a cold press. Now that I'm in here and I can feel that. That's very interesting, you know. And then some people were like super disappointed, and I think it's mostly the people that are disappointed are people who haven't played in the art journals or experimented maybe with different papers, or maybe they have and they're just super disappointed in the way that this one performs. But I look at all of these books as mixed media books for what I do, and instead of being, you know, disappointed with the way a paper reacts, I'm looking at these in the same way that I look at just about everything else that we use. I take it in stride, like what are the limitations of this paper versus the other papers. And I do like my handmade journals more than anything that I've used, but of course my handmade journals, I've picked my very favorite papers, and so I know that they're going to react beautifully. And so if you get a commercial made one and you're like, oh, just don't like it at all, make some of your own then, because those have really been the most delightful thing to work in, because I've picked my favorite Hanamulle and Arches papers in there, and then they really are good quality watercolor paper. Okay, I was kind of doubting the hot pink, but that's actually like my favorite bit in here. Like, look at that. It's like a nice little yummy pop of color. So I do know that, you know, that's a fugitive color, so it's not going to stay that hot pink forever. So if you find something that you really like, love what it did, take a picture of it, scan it in, you know, make it something that's going to be more permanent there for you. All right, I'm kind of digging this page, so it's going to be interesting when we finish to see what we ended up with on the other side, and whether we should gesso it or watercolor ground it or what have you. So this is my Princeton Neptune 1/2 inch oval wash. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to come mark make on top of it, and then we'll see what we ended up with. So I'll be right back. Alright, I let that dry, and I'm just playing here in my joggle stencils, and I think I'm going to play in some Klimt stencils, because I'm re-obsessed with some Klimt stuff with some of the classes and things I've put out with. So let's pull some of these out. So this one's interesting, and this one is an Elizabeth St. Hilaire one, and this one is Van Gogh Starry Night Spirals Mask. So it's Van Gogh, but we're gonna ride that wave anyway. And then this one, same Elizabeth St. Hilaire. These are joggles. I love joggles. This is Mirror Mirror 75014. I love my joggle stencils. And I'm kind of feeling like, what if we did a gold pattern on this side, and on this side, maybe just pull in some of this wonky pattern and just see. I might add to that, but now that I thought of this, let's just grab a random golden paint and go ahead and get this one started. And if you don't have this golden lid, let's see, has it got a name on it? It's a golden lid opener thing. Like this is like stuck, and if you don't have like this little hand grip helper, you don't know what you're missing. Look at that, made it open. So it's a little golden gripper. That is definitely a favorite tool for getting the tops off of stuff. Okay, and this color is yellower than I thought, but I didn't want to use all my Kuretake ink on it because it's a bigger surface. So this is the iridescent bright gold, and I'm just gonna grab an ink blending brush. There we go. And I'm gonna kind of center this, and then we'll just try our best to do a good job here. And stencil it. So it'll be a very good test of how this burlap looks next to the other burlap too. It does feel about the same though, so I think the burlap really is about the same. It's the watercolor paper that we're kind of questioning today. But I just think it will be fun as a contrasty element on this side, and it'll be interesting to see how much sinks through to the back using an ink blending brush instead of the sponge that I was using to stencil stuff, because it's a much thinner layer with the ink blending brush than the sponges did. Like there's a lot less liquid and water in the blending brush, so we may get a much better one-sided effect. We'll see. I mean, I may just be pushing the paint to the other side. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. I got high hopes. I got high hopes on this one. And then we'll have to add some gold elements on this other page so that it's basically the similar, so it like pulls it in. Oh, look how good that looks. Okay, that was a good choice. Oh my goodness. Okay, good choice. I like the variations. Did it sink through to the other side? A tiny bit, not nearly as much as I expected, so good deal. All right, good job on that one. I'm kind of feeling like on this, maybe I want to kind of come in a little bit. I don't know. Do we want to do that in like a pink? Or maybe this is a bad choice. I'm starting to doubt it. Kind of feeling like this pink medium is interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna still use the gold brush, and it'll just maybe have a little bit of gold in it. I don't know. We'll see. I may need more paint. All right, we're just gonna go for it. Just put it down and go. Just kind of ride that wave of doubt and just go with it. Might not see this at all. May not have enough paint going here. I don't know. This might not have been the right choice. But you know what? Don't ever despair. You can always gesso over something and start again. It's not a big deal. Alright, let's do this one and then let's just see what we got. Okay, that's way more interesting than I kind of expected. Okay, let's put a couple right here on this edge so it kind of came down this way. It's different than I expected, and at the same time, I like it. So good job. Okay, I'm loving that. Weirdly enough, that's way cooler than I expected. Let's stick that brush over there in some water. Now I'm kind of thinking maybe we can dry that so I can go on top of it with some other something. That stencil's kind of strange the way it's got such weirdly moving parts. So if I'd been more careful, some of these overlapping paints where it squished under wouldn't have done that, but I don't even mind that. Now I'm kind of thinking maybe some gold. This is the Kuretake Gold Mica ink in a fine line bottle. And to get the ink in the bottle, I just use a pipette. Pipe it out of the other thing and pipe it into this. Easy way to get your ink in the bottle. If I do this though, it's not going to dry super fast, but I am kind of feeling it. Since we got gold over here, I'm kind of feeling that maybe we could do like some gold elements over here. And I'm just trying to be careful and maybe follow the stencil, which is kind of fun and very Klimt-esque in the spiral and this spiral kind of feel of his work. And again, it'll just be another kind of very interesting experiment looking at how this affects the back side. Because again, the main goal here was to experiment with, is it super different than the original journal? This paper. And you know, like I said, I don't really get disappointed in different papers. I look at it just like I do the art supplies. Like, okay, now I've got a challenge here. How do I solve this creative challenge that we've got? That's more of where I kind of live with the different challenges in the papers. There are papers that I don't like nearly as much as papers that I do like. And so, okay, I like that unevenness of the gold. But in something like a book, and we know I have a bunch of them if you spied them in my studio tour, once you get a paper in a book, you're kind of stuck with that paper in the book. Is that dry on this side as I put my hand on it? And so then it's more a challenge of, okay, this paper's weird. What do I need to do to make it work for me? It's more of a problem solving, just like we do with supplies. Like, what is this supply? How can I use it? And how can I make it work for me? And whether that's you know, if you got to gesso every page, then that might be the thing on a book like this. You may have to prep your pages, or you may have to switch your medium, and maybe it's not. Don't touch that. You don't touch the one you already put down there. But yeah, I look at these as, okay, this worked or this didn't work, so what do I need to do for this to work for me for the rest of me using that book or that paper or what have you, so that you don't feel like you wasted it. It's not that it's bad paper, it's different, and maybe you just need to treat it in a different manner and see what way is it really going to work better for you. Okay, that's pretty cool. Feel like I need other marks in there, but I'm gonna have to let that gold dry for a minute before I can maybe make on top. But I feel like, what are we feeling? I'm feeling something. What am I feeling? I mean, I may get some I may need some dots in here, like maybe with the temper sticks, but these will mess up what I've already put on there until it dries. So let's let this dry for a second and I'll be right back. Alright, we're dry. And I'm thinking, do I want to add the hot pink splotches? Let's just get my little sample paper. See, now I do kind of like that. But do we have enough hot pink in there? Like maybe I want a brown splotch. I feel like I want some splotches, but I don't know why. Like some bigger, I don't know. Now I'm doubting. Now I'm doubting it. Put these little sticks out here. I've got this kind of brownie color. What color is this? It is weird. I'm still trying to stay within my color palette. So, you know, that one's, I don't know about that. Do I like that? I kind of like that. Like it's a fun orangey, but it's not really in my color palette. So it's not brown enough to be brown. What about this one? See, and that one's kind of more like a jelly stick look. I don't like that transparency. See, I might have enough of that pink in there. Alright, let's mix those. Maybe what I need is some mark making with an Artix pen. That's kind of a fun color. I just want some other little mark making in here, so let's just see. I like that these aren't bullet point. I like that they're more of a brush point, because then I can get a more interesting or different kind of mark out of it, which is my goal. Just some other interest that's not the same. Ooh, this is drying. I'm just a smidge darker too, and I like that a lot. Okay, good choice. Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back there. Okay, I like that. That's feeling pretty good to me. I like that. I might do a little of that over here and just have it more in one spot, just as a visual element somewhere else in the piece. Okay, that's fun. I do like that. That's a good choice. You might not think that, but that's okay. I like it. Sometimes you just gotta ride your own wave. Like, do I want some white punchinella or white dots? I do love dots. Let's just dot it up. Let's just dot it up. I like dots. It's just another interesting little element. Of course, we had plenty of gold dots, but the white dots are different. And I gotta tell you, these Kissohs are just lovely. I don't know why I did not appreciate them as much last year, but man, I love them now. Okay, I think I like that right there. They are just so lovely that I love them. Okay, let's see. Okay, here is the test. And I'm gonna try not to. Okay, look at that. So now, in the way that I work, I can definitively say, even though the paper is slightly different, in the way that I do the watercolor, mixed media, pile stuff on top of it, it does act the same as the big book, even though the paper itself feels slightly different. So if you're having watercolor come through to the back in this book, then you're adding way more water than this page can apparently handle. And in that case, I'd put down a ground, watercolor ground, or like a gesso for that paper, because I have added watercolor and extra water and spread it around and did the stencil on top and mark make on top of that in the same way that I do in the big book. And in the big book, we don't have any color fade through to the back side of those pages either. Let's see if there's one where I've only painted one side. Of course, it looks like I've painted all of. Oh, here we go. So you can see here, nothing came through to the back, and I started this with that same Kissoh watercolor, I think. It could have been the Kuretake, but it was started with the watercolor. This teal is that watercolor. And then stenciled on top in the exact same way. And other than the texture being different, it does feel like the same thickness as this bigger book. It just has more of a rough texture to it than that linen-y texture, but it did not go through to the back. So if you're getting too much water on there, saturating that paper, I can see that coming through. And maybe you need to put a ground on that page before you color it with your paints. Other than that, it is acting the same for me as it did in the big book, and you've watched me paint, you know, dozens of layouts in that big book and never have a problem with the backside except on the burlap, because we know these holes are so thick, and it doesn't matter if you paint this with gesso, it's still got big holes. It's still going to have some holes in it. It goes through to the back. So generally what I do on one side is some type of stencil work or paint or whatever, and on the other side I paste something on top of there, like another piece of art or little pieces or something. So I cover this with another sheet of paper rather than paint on this side also, because whatever I paint on this side will come through to this side, and I want this to be whatever I painted it to be clean and pretty. But as a test in the new book, that paper does react about the same as the big book, and it didn't even warp hardly that much at all either. So I do like that aspect of this thicker cotton paper. There's not a lot of warpage on this side. So I hope you liked the comparison in the way that I use the book and the way the little book may be slightly different than the bigger book. Hope you had fun painting with me today, and I'll see you guys next time.